I was standing by the buffet table when Robert said it. My younger brother, the one who used to call me every Sunday asking for career advice, the one I co-signed a car loan for when he was 23 and had terrible credit. He was holding court in the center of my daughter's living room, surrounded by half the family, and he delivered that line like it was the punchline to a joke everyone was already in on. The laughter rippled through the room, genuine, comfortable laughter. The kind that comes easy when everyone agrees. I kept my face neutral. I'd gotten good at that over the past 6 months. I was holding a paper plate with potato salad I had no intention of eating, standing close enough to hear everything but far enough away that I could pretend I hadn't. My wife Helen was across the room, near the doorway to the kitchen. When I glanced at her, her eyes were already on me. She didn't smile. She didn't frown. She just looked at me with that specific expression she'd been wearing lately, the one that said, "I know. I see it too. Don't react yet." Robert was talking to my daughter Jessica and her husband Todd. Jessica was nodding along, her arms crossed in that way she'd picked up from Helen, except when Helen did it, it meant she was thinking. When Jessica did it, it meant she'd already decided. "I mean, Dad's he's not really keeping up anymore," Robert continued. His voice carried. He wasn't trying to be quiet. "It's better this way. Less stress for everyone." Todd laughed. Actually laughed. That piece of shit. 2 years ago, I'd helped him get an interview at a firm I had connections with. He didn't get the job, but I'd tried. And now he was laughing. "It's for the best," Jessica said. Her voice was softer than Robert's, but it carried the same certainty. "He doesn't need to worry about all this anymore." All this. Like my life was a burden they were graciously lifting from my shoulders. I took a small step backward, closer to the wall. The room smelled like ham and some kind of vanilla candle Jessica had burning on the mantel. There were about 30 people scattered through the house. Aunts, uncles, cousins I barely knew, friends of Jessica's I'd never met. It was supposed to be a casual summer gathering. That's what the invitation had said. Just family and close friends, nothing formal. Except it didn't feel casual. It felt staged. I'd noticed it the moment we arrived, the way people greeted me, too bright, too careful, like I was fragile, like I might break if someone said the wrong thing. And Helen had noticed it too. I saw it in the way her hand tightened on her purse when Jessica hugged her at the door, the way her smile stayed fixed when Todd offered to take our coats, even though it was July and we weren't wearing coats. "Robert's probably right," someone else chimed in. I didn't turn to see who. I was watching the doorway. Helen had shifted position. She was standing straighter now, her head tilted slightly like she was listening to something I couldn't hear yet. Then I heard it too. A car door closing outside. Footsteps on the front walk. The doorbell rang. Jessica frowned. "I'll get it," she said, but Helen was already moving. She crossed the room smoothly, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor, and reached the door before Jessica could take 3 steps. Helen opened it. The woman standing on the porch was in her 50s, wearing a gray pantsuit and carrying a leather messenger bag. She had the kind of face that didn't smile unless there was a reason. I recognized her type immediately. I'd worked with people like her my entire career. Professional, no nonsense. The kind of person who showed up when things were about to become official. "Good evening," the woman said. "I'm looking for Mr. David Mitchell." The room went quiet. Not dramatically. Just that natural pause when something unexpected interrupts the flow of conversation. "That's me," I said. Every head turned. I saw Robert's face first. Confusion, then something else. Something that looked almost like concern. Jessica was staring at Helen, not me. Todd had his phone out, like he'd been in the middle of checking something, but his thumb had stopped moving. The woman stepped inside. Helen held the door for her. They exchanged a look, brief, barely a second. But I saw it. "I'm Catherine Wells," the woman said. "I'm a notary public. We spoke on the phone last week." I nodded. "Thank you for coming. Of course. She glanced around the room, taking in the crowd, the decorations, the half-eaten food. Should we find somewhere private? No, I said. Here's fine. Jessica moved forward. Dad, what's going on? I didn't answer her. I looked at Catherine Wells and said, Do you have the documents? She reached into her bag and pulled out a manila folder. Thick, official-looking. She opened it on the coffee table, pushing aside someone's drink and a bowl of chips. I'll need to verify your identity first, she said. I pulled out my driver's license. She examined it, made a note on her clipboard, and then produced a set of stapled papers. These are the documents you requested to be notarized. I've reviewed them for completeness. Do you confirm this is your signature on page 3, page 7, and page 12? I do. And you're signing these of your own free will, without coercion or duress? I am. Robert was standing now. Wait, Dad, what are you signing? Catherine looked at him. I can't discuss the contents of these documents with anyone except the signing party. Are you Mr. David Mitchell? No, but... Then I can't discuss them with you. Jessica's face had gone pale. This is my house. I think I have a right to know what's happening. Catherine's expression didn't change. You have a right to ask your father. I have an obligation to protect his privacy. I could feel the room shifting. People were putting down plates, standing up, moving closer. The laughter from 5 minutes ago felt like it had happened in a different house, a different life. Helen was still by the door. She'd closed it. She was leaning against it now, her arms crossed, watching everything with those sharp eyes that never missed a detail. Dad, Jessica said again. Her voice was higher now. Please tell me what this is. I looked at her. Really looked at her. My daughter, 32 years old, married for 4 years, living in a house I'd helped with the down payment on, wearing a necklace I'd bought her for her 30th birthday, and 6 months ago, she'd sat across from me in a lawyer's office and told me she thought it was time I stepped back from managing my own affairs. She'd used those exact words, stepped back, like I was some kind of executive retiring from a board. I'm signing a revocation, I said. The room was completely silent now. A revocation of what? Todd asked. His voice was tight. The power of attorney I granted to Jessica last February. I watched it hit her, watched her face go from confusion to understanding to something that looked a lot like panic. You can't do that, she said. Catherine Wells looked up from the papers. Actually, as long as he's of sound mind and not under duress, he can revoke a power of attorney at any time. It's his legal right. But we had an agreement. I don't recall agreeing to anything, I said. My voice was calm. I'd practiced this. I recall you telling me it was for my own good. I recall you saying I was getting forgetful, that I needed help, that it was temporary. It was temporary, Jessica said. It is temporary. 6 months is temporary. She opened her mouth, closed it, looked at Todd. He was staring at his phone like it might have answers. I don't understand, Robert said. He'd moved closer, standing next to Jessica now, united front. Why are you doing this? I picked up the pen Catherine was offering me. Because I don't need help. I never did. You forgot Mom's birthday, Jessica said. Her voice cracked. You called me 3 times in one day asking the same question. I forgot one birthday and 40 years of marriage, I interrupted. And I called you 3 times because you kept saying you'd call me back and you never did. So I called again. That's not... I had a full cognitive assessment done last month, I said. Dr. Richard Brennan. You know him. You recommended him, actually. He's the one you wanted me to see to establish a baseline. Remember? She remembered. I could see it in her face. He cleared me. Completely. No signs of cognitive decline, no memory issues, no impairment of any kind. In fact, he noted that my recall and executive function are above average for my age. I looked at Catherine. I have the written report, It's part of the documentation. Catherine nodded. I've reviewed it. It's very thorough. I signed the first page, then the second. The pen made a scratching sound against the paper. No one was talking. No one was moving. Even the people on the edges of the room, the ones who probably had no idea what was happening, had gone still. There's more, I said. I wasn't talking to Catherine anymore. I was talking to the room. I'm also revoking the healthcare proxy, the financial designation, and the access to my accounts that was granted under the power of attorney. Dad, you're making a mistake, Jessica said. She was crying now. Real tears. I wondered if they were genuine. We were trying to help you. Were you? Yes. Then why did you refinance the mortgage on this house using my name as a co-signer without telling me? Her face went blank. Why did you transfer $48,000 from my savings account to yours in April? Why did Robert call my financial advisor and request a full portfolio review, claiming he had power of attorney over my estate? Robert's face flushed red. Tom called me, I said. My advisor, the one I've had for 20 years. He called me directly because he thought it was strange. He wanted to confirm before he released any information, so I told him to stall, to say he needed documentation, and I waited to see what you'd do. I signed the last page. You went back to him 4 times, I continued, each time claiming it was urgent, each time saying I'd authorized it but forgotten to tell him. He documented everything, every call, every email. Would you like me to have him forward them to you? Robert's mouth opened. Nothing came out. I handed the pen back to Catherine. She reviewed the signatures, added her notary seal, and packed everything back into her folder. All done, she said. You'll receive certified copies within 3 business days. Thank you. She stood, looked around the room one more time. Then she walked to the door. Helen opened it for her. Have a good evening, Catherine said. Then she was gone. The silence that followed was different from before, heavier, darker. I picked up my paper plate. The potato salad had gotten warm. I dropped it in the trash can next to the buffet table and walked toward the door. Helen was already holding my jacket. You can't just leave, Jessica said. I can, I said. I have full authority over my own life again, remember? Dad, please. I stopped, turned, looked at my daughter and my brother and all the people who'd been laughing 5 minutes ago. When you're ready to talk to me like I'm a person instead of a problem, I said, you know where to find me. Helen and I walked out together. The night air was cool. Crickets were chirping somewhere in Jessica's manicured lawn. I could hear music playing from the house next door. Normal sounds. Normal night. We got in the car. Helen started the engine but didn't put it in drive. She just sat there, hands on the wheel, staring straight ahead. Are you okay? She asked. No, I said. Good, she said. You shouldn't be. She backed out of the driveway. As we turned onto the street, I looked back at the house. People were standing in the windows, watching us leave. I wondered what they were saying. I wondered if they understood yet. I wondered if they ever would. Helen reached over and took my hand. That was just the opening move, she said. I knew. God help me, I knew. This was just the beginning. Before we continue, hit the hype button, subscribe, and like the video to help the channel grow. Tell us which city you are from in the comments. We'd love to get to know our audience better. The first email arrived at 6:30 the next morning. I was sitting at the kitchen table, drinking coffee and reading the news on my tablet, when my phone buzzed. Jessica's name appeared on the screen. Subject: We need to talk. I didn't open it. I set the phone face down on the table and went back to my coffee. Helen came downstairs 20 minutes later, already dressed for the day in slacks and a blouse. She poured herself coffee, sat across from me, and said, How many? 1 so far, Jessica. There'll be more. There were. By 8 o'clock, I had 7 unread emails. Jessica had sent 3 more. Robert had sent 2. Todd had sent one with the subject line disappointed. And there was one from my sister Linda, who'd been at the party but had stayed quiet the whole time. Her subject line just said, "Ow." I deleted them all without reading. "You should read Linda's," Helen said. "She wasn't part of it." "She laughed," I said. "She was uncomfortable. There's a difference." Maybe, but I wasn't ready to parse the difference yet. My phone rang at 9:15. Jessica. I let it go to voicemail. She called back immediately. Voicemail. Then Robert called, then Todd, then Jessica again. Helen was working on her laptop at the kitchen island, some kind of spreadsheet project for the nonprofit she volunteered with. She glanced up every time the phone buzzed but didn't say anything. She knew this pattern. She'd lived through it before. 3 years ago, when I'd retired from the engineering firm I'd worked at for 28 years, Jessica had thrown me a party. Big event. Rented venue. Catered food. She'd given a speech about how proud she was, how much I'd sacrificed for the family, how much I deserved to rest now. Everyone had applauded. I'd felt genuinely touched. 2 weeks later, she'd started talking about how I needed to stay active, how retirement could be dangerous for people my age if they didn't have structure, how I should consider volunteering, taking classes, maybe seeing a therapist to process the transition. I'd thought she was being thoughtful. Helen had known better. "She's trying to control you," Helen had said one night, after Jessica had sent me a list of recommended activities for recent retirees that included chair yoga and a book club that met at 1:30 on Tuesdays. "She's worried about me," I'd said. "No," Helen had said. "She's worried about her idea of you." I hadn't understood the distinction then. I did now. The doorbell rang at 10:45. I was in my home office, going through files, when I heard it. Helen's footsteps crossed the hardwood floor. The door opened. Voices. I walked to the top of the stairs and looked down. Jessica was standing in the entryway. Her eyes were red. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. She was wearing yoga pants and an oversized sweatshirt that probably belonged to Todd. She looked like she'd been crying for hours. "I need to talk to Dad," she was saying. "He's busy," Helen said. "Mom, please." "He's busy, Jessica." "I'm right here," I said from the stairs. Jessica looked up. Her face crumpled. "Dad, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean—" "Come in," I said. "We'll talk in the living room." Helen stepped aside. Jessica came in, her movements hesitant, like she wasn't sure she was allowed. We went into the living room. Helen followed. Jessica glanced at her, then at me. "Can we talk alone?" Jessica asked. "No," I said. "Dad." "Your mother stays. This conversation involves her too." Jessica's jaw tightened, but she nodded. We all sat. Helen and I on the couch, Jessica in the armchair across from us. The morning light was coming through the windows, bright and harsh. "I didn't know," Jessica said. "About the money, about Robert calling your advisor. I swear I didn't know." "You knew about the mortgage," I said. She flinched. "That was— Todd said it would help with the refi rates, that having you as a co-signer would— I didn't authorize it." I know, but you'd given me power of attorney, and the bank said it was allowed, and I thought—" She trailed off. "You thought what?" "I thought you wouldn't mind." Her voice was small. "I thought you trusted me." "I did trust you," I said. "That's why I signed the power of attorney in the first place." "Then why are you doing this?" The tears were starting again. "Why are you punishing me?" Helen made a sound, not quite a laugh, not quite a scoff. Jessica's eyes snapped to her. "You think this is punishment?" Helen asked. "What else would you call it?" "Correction," Helen said. "You took something that wasn't yours. He's taking it back." "I didn't take anything." "You took his autonomy," Helen said. Her voice was calm, factual. "You took his authority over his own life. You convinced him he needed help when he didn't, and then you used that help to benefit yourself. That's not fair." "Isn't it?" Helen leaned forward. Tell me, Jessica, when you transferred that $48,000, what did you use it for? Jessica's face went red. That's not... Answer the question. We needed it for the house. You needed it, or you wanted it? There's a difference between need and want, and you know it. Then explain it to me, Helen said. Explain why you needed to take money from your father's savings account without asking him. Because he would have said yes, Jessica's voice rose. He always says yes, he always helps. So I didn't see the point in making him go through the whole process of transfers and authorizations when I could just do it myself. You took a shortcut, I said. I made things easier. For who? She stopped, stared at me. I don't understand why you're being like this. Like what? Cold, mean, like you don't even care about me anymore. I felt something inside me shift, not break, shift, like a tectonic plate moving 1 inch to the left. Jessica, I said, do you remember when you were 16 and you wrecked my car? She blinked. What? You took my car without asking. You were going to meet some boy. You ran a red light and got T-boned by a pickup truck. You weren't hurt, thank God, but the car was totaled. Do you remember what I said to you in the hospital? She nodded slowly. You said you were glad I was okay. Do you remember what else I said? She was quiet. I said that I loved you, I continued, and that I was grateful you were safe, and that you were grounded for 3 months, and you were going to pay for the insurance deductible out of your summer job money, and you were never, ever allowed to take something of mine without asking again. I was 16. And you learned, I said. You never did it again. Not with the car, anyway. Her eyes widened. That's not the same thing, isn't it? I'm an adult now. I was trying to help you. No, I said. You were trying to help yourself, and you convinced yourself it was the same thing. She stood up. I can't do this. I came here to apologize, and you're attacking me. I'm not attacking you, I said. I'm telling you the truth. Your truth. The truth, Helen interjected. There's no yours and his. There's just what happened. Jessica grabbed her purse. I don't have to listen to this. No, I said, you don't. But before you leave, I want you to understand something. She paused at the door. I'm not angry because you made a mistake, I said. I'm angry because you didn't think it was a mistake. I'm angry because when you took that money, when you signed my name to that mortgage, when you stood in that lawyer's office and told me I needed to step back, you genuinely believed you were doing the right thing. You believed you knew better than me about my own life. I was worried about you. You were worried about what would happen to you if I made a decision you didn't agree with. She stared at me. That's not true. Then prove it, I said. Go home. Think about what you really wanted from that power of attorney. Think about why you felt like you needed control over my money, my health care, my future. And when you have an honest answer, come back. We'll talk again. She left without another word. Helen waited until we heard her car pull out of the driveway before she spoke. That was hard, she said. Yeah. It's going to get harder. I knew that too. This was just the second move. The board was still being set. Helen stood and walked to the window, looking out at the street. Robert will come next, she said. He won't cry. He'll be angry. Probably. And Todd will send more emails, passive-aggressive ones, trying to logic you into reversing the revocation. I won't read them. She turned back to me. David, I need to know something. What? How far are we going with this? I met her eyes. As far as we need to. She nodded, like she'd expected that answer, like maybe she'd wanted it. Good, she said. We spent the rest of the day in careful normalcy. Helen made lunch. I worked in the garage, organizing tools I'd been meaning to organize for months. We watched the news. We talked about ordinary things, the weather, the neighbor's new fence, a book Helen was reading. But underneath it all, there was a hum, a frequency only we could hear. The sound of something building, something inevitable. At 7 that evening, my phone rang again. Not Jessica this time, not Robert, an unknown number with a local area code. I answered. Hello? Mr. Mitchell, this is Ann Corrigan. I'm an attorney with Corrigan & Shue. I'm calling on behalf of your daughter, Jessica Mitchell. I put the phone on speaker so Helen could hear. What can I do for you, Ms. Corrigan? I understand there was an incident yesterday involving a power of attorney revocation. There was no incident, I said. I exercised my legal right to revoke a document I'd signed. Yes, well, my client is concerned that this decision may not have been made with full understanding of the consequences. Your client is wrong. There was a pause. Mr. Mitchell, I want to be very clear. My client has your best interests at heart. She's worried that you may have been influenced. By who? Another pause. Longer this time. I'm not at liberty to say. Let me guess, I said. She thinks my wife influenced me. Silence. Tell your client that my wife and I make decisions together, I said. We have for 40 years, and if she has a problem with that, she can tell me herself instead of hiding behind a lawyer. Mr. Mitchell, is there anything else? We may need to pursue a competency evaluation. Helen's hand found mine, squeezed once. You can try, I said, but I've already had one. Dr. Richard Brennan. Your client recommended him, actually. The results are documented and filed. I'm happy to provide copies if needed. That may not be sufficient. Then get a court order, I said. I'll comply with any legal requirement, but I won't be bullied. I hung up. Helen was staring at me. She hired a lawyer. Apparently. That's escalation. I know. What are we going to do? I looked at her, really looked at her. My wife. My partner. The woman who'd stood next to me through every hard thing life had thrown at us. She wasn't afraid. She was ready. We're going to make sure they can't do this to anyone else, I said. She smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who'd been waiting for permission to stop being polite. Okay, she said. Then let's do it right. She went upstairs and came back down with a cardboard file box. She set it on the coffee table and opened it. Inside were folders, documents, printouts, photos. I've been keeping records, she said, since February, since the day Jessica first suggested the power of attorney. I stared at the box. Helen, every conversation, every email, every time she called you forgetful, every time Robert made a comment about your declining health, every interaction with Todd, I documented all of it. Why didn't you tell me? Because you weren't ready to see it yet, she said. You needed to believe they were just worried. You needed to give them a chance to prove me wrong. But you knew. I suspected, she said. And when you suspect something like this, you prepare, just in case. I pulled out the first folder. Inside were printed emails, texts, even handwritten notes, all organized by date, all labeled, all meticulously documented. Jesus, Helen. I was a paralegal for 12 years before we had kids, she said. I know how to build a case. A case for what? She sat down next to me. For whatever we decide to do next. I looked at the documents, at the evidence of months of manipulation and control, at the proof that this wasn't an accident or a misunderstanding. It was a plan. Maybe not a malicious one. Maybe Jessica genuinely thought she was helping, but it was still a plan to take control of my life. We're not going to court, I said. I know. We're not going to make this a legal battle. I know. So what's the point of all this? Helen smiled again. That same dangerous smile. Leverage, she said. And for the first time since this whole thing started, I smiled too. We walked out of the courthouse into bright afternoon sunshine. The world looked the same. Cars in the parking lot. People walking down the sidewalk. A hot dog vendor on the corner. Everything normal. But nothing was normal. Nothing would ever be normal again. Helen was crying. Not loud, just quiet tears running down her face. I pulled her close. "We won," I said. "I know." "Then why are you crying?" "Because we had to fight in the first place." Richard shook my hand. "Congratulations. That went as well as it could have." "What happens now?" "The protective order goes into effect immediately. Jessica can't touch your accounts, can't make medical decisions, can't exercise power of attorney. If she tries, she'll be in contempt of court." "And the mortgage fraud?" "That's between her and the mortgage company, and potentially the district attorney, if they decide to prosecute. But that's out of our hands." "What about Robert?" "The securities complaint stands. That's on his record. But beyond that, there's nothing to do. He wasn't part of the guardianship petition." We said goodbye to Richard in the parking lot. Helen and I sat in the car for a long time, neither of us ready to drive yet. "Do you feel good about this?" Helen asked. "I feel relieved, not good. Just relieved." "Me too." "Do you think they'll ever forgive us?" She was quiet. Then, "I don't know. Does it matter?" It should have mattered. They were my kids. Jessica was my daughter. I'd held her when she was born. I'd taught her to ride a bike. I'd walked her down the aisle at her wedding. But when I tried to summon the feeling, the pain, the grief I should have felt, there was just nothing. Or not nothing. Just exhaustion and relief. Like I'd been carrying a weight for so long I'd forgotten what it felt like to stand up straight. "No," I said. "It doesn't matter." We drove home. The house was quiet, exactly as we'd left it that morning. But it felt different. Safer. Like we'd secured the perimeter and could finally breathe. Helen made coffee. I sat at the kitchen table and stared at nothing. "What now?" she asked. "I don't know. I hadn't thought past today." "We should probably prepare for retaliation." "What kind?" "I don't know. But people don't just accept this kind of defeat. They push back." She was right. I knew she was right. But I was too tired to think about it. We spent the rest of the day in quiet recuperation. We watched TV without really watching. We ate dinner without really tasting it. We went through the motions of normalcy while our brains processed what had happened. At 9 o'clock, the doorbell rang. We looked at each other. Helen's expression said, "Should we answer it?" I got up, looked through the peephole. Robert was standing on the porch, alone. I opened the door. "Can we talk?" he said. "Depends. Are you here to yell at me?" "No." I stepped aside. He came in. Helen appeared in the hallway, arms crossed. We all went into the living room. No one sat. "Jessica's a mess," Robert said. "She's been crying for hours. Todd's talking about leaving her." "And you think that's my fault?" "I think you humiliated her in court." "I defended myself in court. There's a difference." Robert's jaw worked. "You made her look like a criminal. She committed mortgage fraud. She made a mistake. A mistake she tried to cover up. A mistake she never apologized for. A mistake she then tried to legalize by having me declared incompetent. She was scared." "Of what?" I was getting angry now. Scared of me? Scared of being held accountable? What exactly was she so scared of that she needed to destroy my life to protect herself? Robert didn't have an answer. "I didn't want this," I said. "I didn't want to go to court. I didn't want to file counter petitions. I just wanted my life back. But she wouldn't let me have it. She kept pushing. She hired lawyers. She filed for guardianship. She made this a war." "So you won. Congratulations. You destroyed your daughter. Feel good about that?" "No," I said. "I feel nothing about it. And that's the saddest part." Robert stared at me. "What happened to you? You used to be kind." "I still am kind. But I'm not a doormat anymore. If you can't tell the difference, that's on you." He looked at Helen. Did you put him up to this? Don't, Helen said. Her voice was ice. Don't you dare try to make me the villain because you can't accept that your brother has a spine. He never acted like this before you. Before I what? Before I supported him? Before I loved him? Before I treated him like a partner instead of a burden? She stepped forward. You want to blame me because it's easier than admitting you were wrong? Fine. Blame me, but it doesn't change the facts. Robert's hands curled into fists. You've turned him against his own family. His family turned against him first, Helen said. We just fought back. This isn't fighting back. This is scorched earth. Yes, I said. It is. Because that's what you left me with. You want to know what happened to me? You happened. Jessica happened. You decided I was incompetent and tried to take control of my life. You made me prove I was worthy of basic human dignity. So yeah, I went scorched earth, because you left me no other choice. Robert was shaking. I came here to see if there was any way to fix this. There isn't. So that's it? We're just done? I thought about it. Really thought about it. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But if you want a relationship with me going forward, it's going to be on my terms. Not yours. Not Jessica's. Mine. What terms? Respect. Honesty. No more assumptions. No more decisions made for me. No more treating me like I'm senile or stupid or inconvenient. You want to be in my life? You treat me like an equal. Or you leave. And if I can't accept that, then we're done. He stood there for a long moment. Then he walked to the door. Stopped. Turned back. For what it's worth, he said, I'm sorry. I didn't understand what Jessica was doing. I believed her. And I shouldn't have. No, I said. You shouldn't have. He left. Helen sat down on the couch, put her face in her hands. Do you think he meant it? She asked. I don't know. Maybe. Does it matter? I don't know that either. We sat in silence. The house settled around us. Floorboards creaking, pipes ticking, all the small sounds of a home that's been lived in for decades. We really did it, Helen said. Yeah. We burned it all down. Yeah. Do you regret it? I thought about the question. Thought about Jessica's tears, Robert's anger, the family dinners we'd never have again, the holidays that would be awkward or non-existent, the grandkids I might not see. No, I said. I don't regret it. And I meant it. Detective Rhodes called again 3 days later. She wanted me to come to her office to give a formal statement. I agreed. Helen came with me. We sat in a gray room with a table and uncomfortable chairs while Detective Rhodes asked questions and recorded my answers. Yes, I'd granted Jessica power of attorney. Yes, I'd discovered she'd transferred money without my permission. Yes, I'd learned about the mortgage fraud. Yes, I'd revoked the power of attorney. Yes, I'd felt betrayed. The questions went on for over an hour. Detective Rhodes was professional, not judgmental, not sympathetic, just methodical. Do you believe your daughter intended to harm you financially? She asked. I thought about it. No, I think she intended to help herself and convinced herself it was the same thing. But you didn't authorize the transfers? No. Or the mortgage? No. And you would have said no if she'd asked? I paused. I don't know. Maybe I would have said yes to the money, if she'd explained why she needed it, if she'd asked like an adult instead of taking it like a child. But the mortgage, no, I wouldn't have agreed to that. Rhodes made notes. One more question. If we prosecute, will you testify? Do I have a choice? You can be subpoenaed, but willing witnesses are more effective. I looked at Helen. She didn't say anything. This was my decision. If you prosecute, I said, I'll testify. But I want to be clear. I'm not doing this because I want to hurt my daughter. I'm doing it because what she did was wrong, and if I protect her from that, I'm teaching her she can get away with it. Rhodes nodded. That's a good answer. We left the DA's office and drove home in silence. Halfway there, Helen said, "Are you okay?" "I don't know." "That was hard." "Yeah, you did the right thing." "Did I?" She didn't answer. That weekend, Robert called. Not me. Helen. I only heard her side of the conversation, but I could fill in the blanks. "Yes, he's cooperating with the investigation." "No, I didn't talk him into it. Robert, he's an adult. He makes his own decisions. I know you think that, but it's not true. She committed fraud. What did you think would happen? No, we're not trying to destroy her. We're just not protecting her from the consequences of her own actions. That's your choice." "Okay. Goodbye." She hung up. "What did he say?" I asked. "He said we're vindictive, that we're taking this too far, that Jessica's already been punished enough." "What else?" "He said he's done with us, that he can't have a relationship with people who would do this to their own daughter." I waited for the pain, for the grief, for something, but there was still just that same exhaustion, that same relief. "Okay," I said. Helen looked at me. "That's it? Just okay?" "What else is there to say? He's made his choice. I've made mine. We're done." "You're really okay with that?" "No," I said. "But I'm accepting it. There's a difference." 2 weeks later, Detective Rhodes called again. The DA's office had decided to prosecute. Jessica was being charged with felony fraud and elder financial abuse. Her arraignment was scheduled for the following month. I didn't tell Helen right away. I sat with the information for a few hours, turning it over, examining it from every angle. My daughter was going to be prosecuted for a felony. Because of me. Because I'd told the truth. Because I'd refused to protect her. When I finally told Helen, she went very still. "Are you surprised?" she asked. "No." "Are you going to try to stop it?" "Can I?" "You could tell them you don't want to prosecute, that you're not willing to testify. Without your cooperation, the case is much weaker. But it doesn't go away. Probably not." I thought about it. If I back out now, what does that teach her? That you love her more than you love being right. Or that she can commit crimes as long as she's sorry afterward. Helen sighed. "David, I've been with you every step of this. I've supported every decision. But I need you to think very carefully about what you're about to do. If you testify, if you help them convict her, there's no coming back from that. She'll never forgive you, and part of you will never forgive yourself. You think I should back out. I think you should make sure this is what you want, because once it's done, it's done." I went for a walk. Long walk. Miles. I walked through the neighborhood where we'd raised our kids, past the elementary school Jessica had attended, past the park where Robert had played Little League, past all the ordinary places that held all the ordinary memories. And I thought about who I'd been before all this. The father who'd co-signed loans and helped with down payments and showed up when his kids called. The man who'd believed that family meant unconditional support. That man would have protected Jessica, would have withdrawn cooperation, would have eaten the consequences himself rather than let his daughter face them. But I wasn't that man anymore. That man had been erased at a family reunion while everyone laughed. I came home as the sun was setting. Helen was in the kitchen making dinner. "I'm testifying," I said. She nodded, didn't argue, just nodded. We ate dinner in silence. The next day, I got an email. Not from Jessica, from Todd. Subject: "Please read this, I almost deleted it, but something made me open it. David, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I know you think we're all against you. But I need you to understand what's happening to Jessica. She's falling apart. She's not eating. She's not sleeping. She had a panic attack yesterday that was so bad I had to take her to the ER. The doctor put her on medication. She's lost her job. They put her on leave when the fraud charges went public. She'll probably be fired. Our friends aren't calling anymore. People cross the street when they see her. She's become a pariah. And the worst part is, she still doesn't understand why you're doing this. She keeps saying she was trying to help. She keeps saying she loves you. I'm not asking you to drop the charges. I know you won't. But I'm asking you to think about what you're doing to her. To really think about it. She's your daughter. No matter what she did, no matter how angry you are, she's still your daughter. Is this really what you want? Todd. I read it 3 times. Then I deleted it. But I couldn't delete the words. They stayed with me. All day. All night. She's your daughter. She was. That was the problem. She was my daughter, and she'd tried to have me declared incompetent. She was my daughter, and she'd stolen from me. She was my daughter, and she'd hired a lawyer to fight me in court. Being my daughter didn't make those things okay. It made them worse. That night, Helen found me in my office, staring at nothing. Todd emailed you, she said. It wasn't a question. How did you know? Because he emailed me too, and probably half the family. It's a campaign. To get me to back down. Yes. Will it work? She sat on the edge of my desk. I don't know. Will it? I thought about Jessica at the ER. Jessica on medication. Jessica losing her job. Jessica becoming a pariah. I thought about the daughter I'd raised, the little girl who'd believed I could fix anything, the teenager who'd called me when she was scared, the young woman who'd asked me to walk her down the aisle. And then I thought about the woman who'd sat across from me in a lawyer's office and told me I needed to step back, who'd taken my money without asking, who'd stood in court and said I was incompetent. No, I said, it won't work. Helen nodded. Okay. You think I'm making a mistake. I think you're making a choice, and you have to live with it. Can you live with it? She was quiet for a long time. Then, I married you 40 years ago, for better or worse. This is worse. But I'm still here. Even if it destroys our family? David, our family was already destroyed. We're just cleaning up the wreckage. The arraignment happened on a Tuesday. I didn't go. Helen and I stayed home, listening to the silence, waiting for news we didn't really want. Detective Rhodes called that afternoon. Jessica had pled not guilty. Her lawyer was arguing that the power of attorney had given her legal authority to make the transfers, that there was no intent to defraud. Will that work? I asked. Probably not. The power of attorney was limited, and even if it wasn't, she never disclosed the transfers to you. That shows intent to conceal, which implies knowledge of wrongdoing. So what happens now? Trial. Unless she takes a plea deal. Would you offer one? That's up to the DA, but probably. First offense, family circumstances, no prior record. She'd probably get probation and restitution. How much restitution? The $48,000 she transferred, plus fees and court costs, probably close to $60,000 total. I closed my eyes. That'll bankrupt her. That's the consequence of fraud. After I hung up, I sat there for a long time. $60,000. Jessica didn't have that kind of money. Neither did Todd. They were already underwater on their mortgage. This would destroy them financially. Part of me felt satisfaction, the part that was still angry. But another part felt something else. Something that felt uncomfortably close to guilt. I pushed it down. Locked it away. This wasn't about guilt. This was about justice, about consequences, about teaching a lesson that should have been learned decades ago. I kept telling myself that. I almost believed it.